Games was actually the all-school read at my school, so everybody had to read it. And I normally am like, I don't want to read it, but all my friends, you gotta read it, it is great. And quickly became hooked, read the first one, the second one, waited till midnight for the third one. Looked up like potential cast videos on YouTube because I loved it so much. And I actually knew Gary Ross's daughter, Claudia, and her dad was interviewing kids that had read the books that were fans of it. So I went in, did an interview with him, and then 2 weeks later I got a call and he wanted me to come in and read for Foxface. And I was completely flipping out that I even had the opportunity to go in and audition. And so the fact that I got the part is still mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I first came across the books when I found out they were making the movie, just kind of when I first heard about them, and I became hooked right away. I love the story. You know, my character Peter was so interesting to me. I connected with him on so many levels. You know, so for me, yeah, it's kind of a passion sort of thing that I felt towards the story and the characters, and had a couple auditions. The second one being with Jennifer Lawrence as a chemistry read, and they all went fantastic, I thought. But I thought that before and not gotten jobs, so you know, you never know. And it was literally like a week and a half, 2 weeks after I'd done the second audition before I found out. And it was absolute torture. I was like killing myself. Every time my phone was like, hello? Okay. And it's to the point where literally if a word began with H, I would say hunger. I'd be like, so are we having people over tonight to whatever. It was a mild obsession. But yeah, it was very relieving once I finally got that phone call.
Well, and what you mentioned a second ago, Jacqueline, about, did it seem like they were actively trying to find people that were fans? Was that like a thing that was actually like a part of this?
Hard not to find people that aren't fans.
Right.
Yeah.
But instead of just casting actors that didn't know anything about the parts, they actually did pursue people that were hardcore
I
fans.
think people just, you know, when you read a book and you really connect to it, people kind of have ideas when they find out it's being made into a movie of what they want. And I mean, you could probably search any book that you really enjoy, and on the internet there'll probably be like some fan-made cast about it. And I think they just choose actors that they think have the right look or that they really look up to and admire. And so, I mean, but this is always before even the casting process usually begins. So,
Josh, you came from kind of an independent background. Kids Are All Right, and you were at South by Southwest last year for detention. I remember seeing you, and it was only a few days after that, or you know, that you got this part.
Yes.
So, what is it like coming from that background, and now you're in this huge series that is going to go on for at least a few years? What is that like?
Job security.
Yes.
You know, as an actor, it's funny because you really don't know when you're going to work again, or if you're going to. Even when I worked with Julianne Moore, she told me that in between jobs, she's like, am I going to get hired again? Like, I understand that to a T. I'm so happy to know that somebody else who is extremely successful and talented thinks that same way. But yeah, no, it is a weird sense of job security for me. I think that I love making independent films. I think that, you know, they tell some of the most amazing stories, the most amazing cast and types of material out there. But at the same time, you know, I think that the Hunger Games has that as well, and that's what attracted me to it. It was never about the scope of how big it was going to be, or, you know, the fan following, which is great. But, you know, it's definitely to me about the material, 100%. And that's what I've always chose my movies based on, and that's what I want to continue to do. So in between the Hunger Games, which I know are going to be coming, which is nice, I'm able to kind of step away and do more kind of indie projects as well.
Obviously, you want fans and people coming to see this movie to love it. It's going to be entertaining, fun, exciting. But beyond that, it seems like there's a real opportunity to make some interesting statements with a film like this. Are there some things that you're hoping people will walk away with, both young adults, because this has quite a young following, as well as, you know, grown-ups, if you'll pardon the word?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think a big part of it is that it's important for kids today to see, you know, such a strong female lead, because there's not a lot of that out in literature and in movies and in, you know, culture today. And so I think it's really great that there's somebody who's not really ruled by romance, but is really ruled by, you know, love for her family and goes in to protect them. And so I think that is something important for girls to see.
Have you guys seen the finished film? What did you think of it?
He has. You haven't.
I loved it. It's so good. Honestly, I had pretty high expectations just based on what Gary Rawson told me and what other people I talked to had seen the project had told me, which is never a good thing to go into one of your own movies with high expectations. It's never a good situation. But I was blown away, honestly. Like I haven't walked out of a movie, let alone one of my own movies before, where I felt so moved and felt like the movie captured the essence of the story in so many ways. And literally from the very beginning to the very end, you're emotionally invested in the entire story. And that's so important, I think, because reading the book, I felt that way. And you know, I want to make sure that that came across in the movie, and it does. I'm very, very proud of it. And I was nervous, but now I'm just excited to see it.
So how accurate to the book is the movie, do you feel?
Extremely. I mean, honestly, in my mind, the book, the script, and the movie have literally become one entity to me. I can't even tell you things that aren't in the movie that are in the book. I don't know. If anything, I think in the movie it allows exploration outside of just Katniss's narratives. And, you know, in the book you're tied to that, so you're tied to her thoughts and ideas. In the movie, they can kind of like step over to the Capitol and show a little bit more of that, or step into, you know, District 12 when Gail's watching the game and trying not to watch the game, and really kind of get into that headspace as well. So it allowed some exploration outside of just Katniss, which I thought was really interesting.
Jacqueline, I write for the Huffington Post. I understand you're
Oh,
talking to them.
cool.
Can you tell us anything about that, or we can talk about it later? Are you talking about blogging about the film or about other work?
Oh, well, I'm not really sure on what I'm going to blog about yet. I have a blog right now that I kind of blog about issues that I think affect society, or that, you know, things that kind of inspire me that I hope will inspire other people. And so hopefully maybe continue on with that. I'm not sure, but I guess we'll get to find out in a couple weeks when I start.
And we have a women's vertical, so it'd be great to have you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
My website gave away some passes for the mall tour today.
Oh, nice.
I have never seen more passionate and
Yeah.
just amazing emails. You know, I mean, and some of them were a little weird, but
Don't give them passes. Don't give them passes.
yeah, believe me, some of those I didn't delete
Keep that
right
up.
away, so you're safe.
Thank you.
But no, I was curious what sort of fan experiences you guys have had. You know, because obviously being a part of something like this, I'm sure the fans, being as passionate as they are, I'm sure they want to approach you and talk to you. And like, what are some of the experiences that you've had, you know, with an actual fan coming up to you, and some of the things that, you know, like maybe some weird experiences or fun experiences.
To say the least, they're very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I was recognized once on a street near my school, and it was pajama day, so naturally I was wearing bright pink footy pajamas covered in cats with sheep slippers. And
Naturally.
just for the visual. And these girls were kind of looking at me, and I just smiled, and then I went across the street, and then they yelled, "We love you, Foxface!" and then like sprinted the other way. And I remember standing there like, "Hi!" Oh God, what am I wearing? But that was crazy. That was really cool.
I mean, for me, the mall events have been kind of just wild and out there.
Yeah.
I was talking earlier today. I didn't know humans could reach such a pitch in screaming. I think there's a certain age range it could be in. I think it's like 11 to 17-year-old girls. But it's amazing to see that and hear that. I think my craziest fan experience, I was actually back home in Kentucky with my family for the holidays around Christmas time. And it was actually the day after Christmas. I was having dinner at my house with my grandparents and whatnot. And we just finished dinner and my doorbell rang, and I went to go get the door, as one does. And there was a mom standing there with these two girls, and they instantly do that scream that's that level that you don't understand, and start crying. And they have literally clothes that have my face and my character's face and Peter Brown and all sorts of things all over it. And they continue on to tell me that they had driven down to my house from Chicago on the chance that I might be home for the holidays. And then they also said that they saw me eating dinner and they didn't want to wait. They wanted to wait so they didn't interrupt my dinner and really go afterwards. So it's like they're polite stalkers.
So you've moved since then, right?
Exactly. No, I don't live there. I live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a crazy experience. One that I hope not to have any more of. It was great for once. Like once, oh wow, this is crazy, but never again.
I got this one experience, and it's happened more than once, where people pretend to know me, and when they don't, and I really feel uncomfortable when I feel like I don't remember someone. And so I was on vacation once, and this guy goes, "Isabel," and I'm like, "Hi," and he's just like, "We don't know each other," and I just wanted to sit down. He like sits down next to me at the dinner table, and he just wanted to come up and say hi, and I'm like, "It's great." And so I'm on the beach with my friend, and we go to the water, and he would follow us and be like, "Oh hey, Isabel," and I'm like,
Some funny scenes.
"Hi, good to see you." Yeah.
Somehow I don't think that's related to the Hunger Games. I think it's a creepy guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No relation at all to an actor.
But still, that was the craziest fan experience I've ever had. I mean, the malls was something, but other than that, I go to school, I can see my friends, that's about it.
Now, Germany, you're in,
Yes, sir.
and it just came out
It did.
recently.
Yes.
How would you compare the two makings of those? Like being involved with this, being involved with that.
Weirdly enough, in that movie, I'm running through a jungle trying to survive, and this movie, I'm running through a forest trying to survive. So they had parallels in that sense. Other than that, they're extremely different. You know, I think that The Rock is much more beautiful than Jennifer Lawrence. But I mean, it was a great experience. Shooting both of them was so good. Exactly.
That's what I was gonna say. That's my favorite part of the trailer.
They in Hawaii we shot the Journey 2, and that was amazing. The location was beautiful. But like, you know, like this, the cast was really fun, and we had a great time shooting, and that movie was definitely lighter-hearted. So it was easier to kind of just have a fun atmosphere on set. On this one, we obviously had a fun atmosphere on set, but at the same time, you know, kind of jump back and forth into seriousness and funness. But yeah, I mean, both had their elements that were similar, but at the same time, they're extremely different.
This is obviously a really physical role, and running around in the jungle or running around in the forest. Did you do most of your stunts, and did you hurt yourself?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I did 100% of my stunts in this, which was great, because I love doing stunts, and a lot of times they freak out and don't let you, due to liability issues, which I understand. But actually, my biggest injury was not doing a stunt. It was Jennifer Lawrence. She decided that she was going to try to show me that she could kick over top of my head. So like, there's no way. So she tried to kick over top of my head, and actually kicked me in the side of the head, and gave me a real concussion. And she felt so bad, she was like crying, and like, you can kick me in the head if you want to. I'm kicking you in the head. It's fine. So that's my biggest injury.
I did all my own stunts for the movie as well. I've been let the stunt double do anything. I actually learned how to throw knives for the film. So that was an interesting experience. Trying to keep up with it, but mom's not really supportive of the knife throwing. It's not exactly a sport you can.
What the?
Isabel?
Just stop it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's your version.
That was your mom. She
The mom. Anyway, so knife throwing, and then a little bit of parkour for the woods, as you said, like running through the woods, and then physical training, but training injuries. No, Gary was coming to see the training center, and we were jumping on something called the gauntlet, where there were different levels, and there were some people throwing, swinging bats at us, like foam bats, of course. And we were supposed to dodge them, and there was choreography that we previously planned, and so I was doing it, and then Gary Ross came in the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to impress him so I can do this in the movie. And so I guess I got really nervous, and so the bats were swinging, and I moved back, and then I moved forward, and I accidentally tripped and fell off of it.
We all thought she died.
They all thought I died. I was okay though.
She fell from like, it was like 6 feet straight to the ground. We were like, oh my god, we just lost a cast member. We have to recast. It's gonna be awful.
No, but I didn't tell anyone that I sprained my ankle because I wanted to be able to do my own stunts. But like, it was definitely an experience because everyone was all of a sudden like, are you okay? And I'm just like, what just happened? I thought I was doing good. Now I feel really embarrassed.
Yeah, I also did all of my own stunts except for one, which I physically could not have done without probably knocking myself out. So, good thing I didn't do that. But I also had to go through like parkour and free running training because Fox News is very agile. So they had me doing, you know, like somersaulting and dive rolls and jumping over like super high blocks and going fast, and it was really fun. I did injure myself the second time I met Josh in training. I was doing a dive roll and I was trying to be all cool and like, yeah, I'm Fox Face, I can do this cool stuff. And I gave myself a black eye. So that wasn't fun, but I got to school and I wasn't allowed to tell anybody about the Hunger Games yet. So I was like, oh my god, what happened? I was like, oh, I was just jumping and my knee.
That's the class.
Just nice weather, right? How about them Knicks?
I didn't do the dishes right.
Yeah.
Do you think the comparisons to Twilight are fair?
I don't know. I mean, I really love the story of Twilight.
They're
I'm
completely different stories.
Yeah, and I'm very flattered that this franchise has been kind of considered with Twilight because it's so successful. But I mean, Twilight kind of has a supernatural reference in it. There's like werewolves and vampires, and I mean Harry Potter has magic. But I mean, it really Hunger Games. What I thought was so interesting is they're real people just put into extreme situations and circumstances. And I think that's what so many people enjoy about them is the characters are so relatable.
Did it put any pressure on you when you hear these comparisons? Oh, it's the next big Twilight. Did that put any pressure on you guys at all?
I don't know. I think for me, not at all. I think it was just like, wow, I can't believe that it's being considered to be that big of a deal. Because I mean, I was such a huge fan of the books, and I knew that people really enjoyed them, but I didn't expect it to be this big.
it's not so much pressure as it is very humbling. Just to think that those comparisons are even being made, you know.
As fans of the books before they came out, or having read them, what scene were you like most excited about when reading it? Be like, I can't wait to actually get to film that scene.
I thought I love the cave scene. I mean, between Peeta and Katniss, I think that when I was reading it selfishly as an actor, I was like, oh man, that's great acting in that scene. I'm ready to do that. And also, I think that as a reader, you know, you see, you know, Peeta who's never actually told Katniss to her face how he feels and why he feels that way, and they kind of have that happen in that scene and kind of have that big transition where she can kind of learn to trust him and their relationship can kind of become something. And the kiss, and I was like, oh, bitter batter. So I was excited about that to read and to see that kind of realized in person.
For me, the feast scene with Jen, because I trained for about a week for the stunt part of it, and then it's also a very emotionally a very interesting scene for Chloe because it's where you get to meet her and she has this whole monologue of basically like mentally abusing her. And so getting into that place was definitely difficult, but I did a lot of research into her and kind of studied her psyche, and I really think that, in my opinion, I think I did great. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know, but you always hope for the best, you know? Thank you.
I think when I was reading the books, a scene that really stuck out to me that was one of Hawke's faces was the mind hopping scene, because I was just like, how is she so clever to have figured out that pattern, you know, without getting caught? So that scene was really cool. And then I think the scene I was most excited to film was probably the interview scene with Stanley Tucci, because I was a huge Stanley Tucci fan, and when I found out that he was cast as Caesar and I would have a scene with him, I called my mom like freaking out. I was like, I get to have a scene with Stanley Tucci. So that was definitely, I was so nervous, but he was great. You know, completely put me at ease, and I had a blast.
On the other end of that, was there a scene that you thought, I really don't want to have to shoot that, and you were just really glad when you were through with it? The fireballs, I would not have signed up for.
Yeah, thankfully I wasn't in that. I just had to deal with that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, talking to Jim about that one. Not really. I mean, honestly, like I love the story so much. I really kind of like everywhere it goes. There's really nothing that I was kind of worried about or something I didn't want to shoot. Yeah, I don't really think so. I was pretty much on board the entire time.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I was just so excited to be there that there wasn't any day where I woke up and I was like, oh God, we have to film this scene. It was every day, you know, like, can't wait to get to set, you know.
Yeah, not only was it getting to set and being able to do what you love, it was getting to see your friends, because we all became so close in the shoot. So.
Since Suzanne was also the screenwriter, was she on set at all to kind of give you guidance for your characters and kind of help you shape them as you were going along?
Yeah, she was actually. She was in my first audition, which I was not expecting. It was nerve-wracking, if you can imagine. Walking in and be like, oh, you wrote the book. Here's what it looks like. I hope you like it. But yeah, she was great. Actually, when I got the part, she gave me a call and she said that, you know, if there's everything I needed to give her a call, and, you know, she put the characters, so if I ever needed any kind of insight or backstory, anything like that, she's more than happy to kind of work with me to figure it out. But honestly, I felt like everything I really needed was in the book, and with Gary on set, you know, Suzanne was there as well, and that was nice. As a fan of the book, to kind of know that she was going to not just hand it off to somebody else, she's actually going to be involved and make creative decisions. And what's great about her is, I feel like sometimes with authors, if they're involved in the filmmaking process, they can be sticklers. They're like, you know, no, it has to look like this, it has to be like this. But she wasn't at all like that. She loved Gary's vision for the project, and she got behind him on almost all his decisions, I feel like. And yeah, I think having her there kind of just gave us all of a valid confidence.
How much input did you have for your own character?
How much input did I have for my character? Quite a bit, I feel like. I mean, I think that I was so much like Peeta in a lot of ways that I didn't really need to change it all from the book. But Gary was very collaborative, and during the rehearsal process in the beginning, just kind of going through the scenes and making sure the dialogue all worked. You know, definitely had some input there because, you know, people can write words, but it doesn't really always sound right when it comes out of someone's mouth. So just kind of making the words fit to you. But yeah, no, it was very, very collaborative feel on set. But I think at least for me, my character was sort of exactly what the book was, and that's what I wanted it to be anyways.
You kind of made mention of talking to your parents about this and everything. How do your friends and families, like obviously when you're an actor and you cast a part, it's always exciting, hey, I got this part. But do they really seem to grasp the scope of what it is that you're now involved with and how big this project is? Like, how have they been reacting to that?
I don't think my mom really grasped the scope until yesterday.
Oh, really?
Because yesterday was crazy, and I mean, even I didn't even expect that.
Yeah, same.
The entire time it was happening, I was looking around like, this is happening.
You're talking about the mall.
The
Yeah.
mall, yeah. There were so many people that showed up, and just to see that people were crying and just so excited to be there, and like waiting in line for hours. Like, the amount of passion and attachment they must have to the series is huge. And I think it makes you feel very special to be a part of it, because you realize how many people really enjoy the book and getting to bring it to life for them, which is a whole new experience. I know my friends were excited. My friend actually locked me in the bathroom for an hour and a half trying to get me to spill something about the movie.
They're no longer friends.
Yeah, but we still are. This is the funny part.
The good friends that lock me in the bathroom for an hour and a half to get information from you.
And she was just like, you have to tell me something. And I'm like, I can't. And so she's like, oh, can you grab me something in the bathroom? I'm like, sure. So I just walk in there, door shut. I know. I escaped through the window, so it's okay.
Great friend.
I think that person sent an email.
What? She probably did. No, but yeah, my friends are excited for me, and my sister is just kind of like, my nickname at home is Fetchy, so she's like, oh, little Fetchy's all grown up. So.
Is there any worry about the kind of the fandom aspect of it? Like, are they concerned maybe that this is a little bit too much? Is there ever that concern?
What means too much?
Well, just, I mean, how passionate.
I'm concerned about us.
Yeah,
For
concerned
us,
about your
it's too
safety,
much.
obviously.
Concerned about my safety. Well, we have the best security team in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
So they
I
definitely.
bet your security guy is really
Oh
cool.
yeah, he's a tyrant, that guy. Anyway,
He's so cool.
we no, they do a great job of keeping us safe. They do a lot of like security walkthroughs and everything like that. But no, I mean, for me, it's just going out and those events and seeing their passion. It's scary in the sense I've never seen people be so passionate about something before, and to know that it has to do with me in some way, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, we had a motorcade when we left the mall
Yeah.
yesterday, and I was
Business
like,
court.
this is
What?
the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So
There are
unnecessary.
police cars following us. Okay. It's like a
Yeah,
moment.
we don't have to stop.
Yeah.
We have time for about one or two more questions.
Real quick, can you guys talk about upcoming projects that you may have besides the Hunger Games?
Yeah, well, I just actually released my second music video called Catch Me If You Can yesterday, and my first music video, Peter Pan, came out a couple months ago, so you can see those on YouTube. And I just got into Stanford, so I will be going there either next year or the year after that, because everything's kind of taking off right now, so I think I might take a year off, but college is definitely a top priority.
I'm actually going to be leaving right after the premiere and going to go to Philly and shoot a movie called After Earth that M. Night Shyamalan's directing, and Will and Jaden Smith are in it as well.
I don't have the next project yet. Like I was saying earlier, the job security of knowing the Hunger Games are coming kind of gives me the freedom to be more selective. So I'm kind of just reading a bunch of scripts at this point. I have a movie coming out April 13th, Detention actually, that I executive produced on as well as acted in, which was first time for me getting behind the camera and something I've always wanted to do, so kind of stepping into that realm is very exciting. And then I also have another movie coming out this fall called Red Dawn, which is a remake of the 1980s Patrick Swayze movie, and we shot it almost 3 years ago. And in the studio, went through some changes and stuff like that with MGM. So now it's finally coming out. I'm very excited.
How quick are they planning on getting these out?
On these movies, well, the Catch Me If You Can has a release date already in November next year. So they kind of are, in my opinion, ahead of ourselves a little bit here. But I think that I can't wait to get started on them. So
So have you started on
every
them?
year, not yet. They started writing in the kind of pre-production phase. But I think we're looking at going to production sometime like into the summer, fall.
Last question?
Team Gale or Team Peta?
Team Cat.
Team Hamish.